All right, welcome back to another episode of Hot Wax. This is episode 16. And today is a special episode for episode 16 of Hot Wax. We have a special guest, a returning guest of the program, Mr. Paul Ernst. Good friend of mine, musician, brother, and a fellow veteran of this order. Paul, welcome back to the show.
I'm so happy to be here. Happy to talk about one of the coolest unknown bands there are.
Well, and you know, this is one of my favorite episodes now because we're going to be talking about a band that is unreplicatable. You can't replicate what they've done. You can't cover these guys. They're one of the most unknown, under the radar, independent rock and roll bands, and we're going to be talking about two special albums. We're going to be talking about the 1998 release on Drag City Records, Accelerator, and the subsequent 1999 release, Veterans of Disorder. I think you have your copy there?
I do.
There's Veterans of Disorder right there.
This here.
And there's Accelerator. Yeah. These albums were basically recorded around the same time when they recorded this album. And I'll give you a little background on it. Royal Trux are a two-piece band that is basically Neil Michael Haggerty and Jennifer Harema. Neil Michael Haggerty was in a band called Pussy Galore before Royal Trux fame, and he was with the great John Spencer's, though that Pussy Galore had broken up. They're most known for their cover of Exile on Main Street.
Yeah.
They did the whole album, Pussy Galore. When that band broke up, obviously John Spencer's went and started the band John Spencer's Blues Explosion, and Neil Haggerty got together with Jennifer Harema, and they formed the Royal Trux. And the first couple Royal Trux records, Twin Infinitives and the Royal Trux self-titled album, were more avant-garde type noise rock. Non-linear, insane music.
Yeah.
And we had gotten turned on to the Royal Trux in the early 90s from a friend of ours that we used to make music with, Jim McConnell.
Oh, Jimmy Mack. He gave us a truck.
He did. He turned us on to Cats and Dogs, Twin Infinitives, and these records. Well, during that time, the Royal Trux, and this was, the era of grunge, kind of. You had bands like Nirvana, Mudhoney, Azalea Snail, all these type of bands.
Well, they were expanding.
Yeah,
there was a whole new market out there,
right?
And people were starting to push any boundary they could.
That's right. And the Royal Trux, for years of being on the great Drag City Records in Chicago, which is known for a lot of, bands that kind of went under the radar, Stereolab, Palace Brothers, Will Oldham, goes on and on. But they finally got signed by a big record label, and they signed to Virgin Records. And they got David Briggs, which is Neil Young's producer that produced a lot of Crazy Horse stuff, and he produced the album Thank You. Now, the Royal Trux did something that most bands had never done at that time. They basically extorted Virgin Records.
Like they only could, man.
Yeah, and Virgin Records ended up giving the Royal Trux an unheard of amount of money at this time to do Thank You, and they did a very controversial album. I don't have the record here, and I'm not going to show you the cover. Look up Sweet 16, you'll see what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Those albums were not commercial successes, but it did put the Royal Trux in a position to make a lot of money.
Yes.
Even though the albums didn't sell and the tours didn't do well, Virgin Records ended up giving the Royal Trux a boatload of money to get them off of Virgin Records. And with that money, Neil and Jennifer bought themselves a farm in Virginia and a ranch and built a studio, went back to Drag City and released the Accelerator album and worked on Veterans of Disorder.
Yeah.
Those albums came
Yeah.
out within a year. So that's what brings us to these records, to Accelerator, how they got there, how they made their money by not really making any money for the record label. And
Well-
and that's just part of the Royal Trux lore.
Yeah.
And when they started work on this album, on both of these records, they didn't have to answer to a record label.
No, anyone.
Right.
Anyone.
And if you listen to their early albums, Thank You and Sweet 16 were very rock and roll albums, almost Zeppelin-y.
Yes.
They were
absolutely.
coherent records. They were rock and roll records, full
You know,
band.
I was going to send you a song earlier today, and it was about. I was playing it, and I'm like, "Oh my god, dude, that is Zepp. It's you know, it was perfect. It was his take on it anyway.
Right.
I should say. It was it was totally Zepp.
Well, when they started recording these records, they kind of went back to some of their old sound and kept the new sound, but they had no boundaries. They had no limits. It was recording on their time, on their dime, and their way.
Yeah.
And that's where these albums kind of came from. And they would go on to record, quite a few other records. But let's give a little taste here of the Accelerator album. We'll see what we got here. One of the cool things about these records, right away when you hear the production of it, Neil Haggerty producing it.
Yes. Yes.
And what I really like about it is the production of the rhythm section, the drums and the bass.
Yes. It's as forward as it needs to be.
Right.
Because he needs to keep that. That has to be in
Right.
front. You know what I'm saying? When it needs to be in front, but the rhythm really carries it, and it gets that open door for you to find the rhythm and the melody inside there. That always constantly opens up for you.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, they've always had the guitar work because Neil Haggerty is an underrated guitar player.
Oh, yeah.
He's the king of slop with Jimmy Page, but he's very precise, and like I said, you can't replicate his sound.
No. There's no pedal for that.
And of course, the lyrics. And as you know, these guys are known for writing two different songs.
Yeah.
and literally singing two different songs at the same time.
Yeah,
Two
yeah.
different sets of lyrics.
Yeah.
Jennifer will have her lyrics, and Neil will be singing his, and they
Yeah.
don't even go, but they somehow work.
Yes.
That's the beauty of the Royal Trux. It's like
It's an enigma. It's a joke. In
Right.
the end, you have to figure it out because, and that's the cool thing is it's never ending. Too,
Right.
Because I can listen. Well, what was the chorus the other day? Some song I've been singing wrong for
Banana Question.
For 30 years I've been singing it wrong. And I finally looked at the lyrics and I'm like, oh my god, there we go, man. That's really what it was. And then mind blown.
yeah, the banana question. That's on
Is that a question?
Is that a fucking question?
Is that a
a fucking question?
Oh my god.
And there's some cool on Veterans of Disorder. There's some cool Latin undertones.
Oh my god, you'll say.
You'll say.
You'll say. Oh man.
And what's the other one? I think Lunch Money.
Lunch money, yes. So this is all, and this is well produced. This is a little more space.
Yeah. The Royal Trux, to me, when I first heard the Royal Trux, I kind of, especially the earlier albums, I thought, well, this is kind of like a mix between Grateful Dead Space, the Rolling Stones and Led Zeppelin with the attitude and the look of like fucking Motley Crue. Because there is something very metal.
I would have put a little more dirt and said Iggy.
Yeah, Iggy. Well, yeah. Well, you look
a little more dirt on that.
right.
But
Well, you look
but
at
that's a perfect. Yeah, that's an excellent. Yeah,
it was because the early albums, if you listen to Twin Infinitives, it's avant-garde, it's noise.
Yeah. Oh, if you're not listening,
Right.
You know, if you're listening, you'll find
Like
it.
Strawberry Soda Pop. I mean, and let's just preference this because with the Royal Trux comes a persona of drug use.
Well, that's quite
It's associated. It goes hand in hand.
Yeah.
I mean, the heroin use, obviously, and of that, you know,
It's
heroin
been
rock.
turned as junkie rock.
Right, junk rock, junkie rock.
Yeah.
But I remember you said to me one time, when you meet somebody, and if they like the Royal Trux, two things are true. Number one, that's the type of person you want to be friends with. And number two, hide your shit, man, because they might steal it and go fucking sell it and buy dope.
Yeah. Well,
but I digress with that. But with
it's funny. I just saw a current picture of Neil, and he would be the person I would invite in my home without question.
Right. No, and I've met him a couple times, and he's a super sweet guy.
Oh yeah, of course.
Very different.
Yeah.
Very soft spoken, but very smart, very cerebral, very intelligent. And Jennifer is batshit crazy.
Nice.
And you know, and I've gotten to, you know, see them quite a few times, and I got to hang out with them twice when I was living in Phoenix, and they were just the coolest fucking thing, and their bands were cool. And the way that they took the time to, you know, discuss your records, like we were just talking, Mille Borns, the card game.
Yeah.
On Accelerator, on the album, on the record itself, it has the two invincible cards.
Yeah. So you have so now this is the Ace Driver. It's called Ace Driver and Mille Borns.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. All right. So that's Ace Driver and Mille Borns. I don't see this.
Well, here, see, you go.
There you go. Oh my God! And that's the infunctional tire. Yeah,
the tire in the
tire in the Ace Driver. Yeah.
So I had asked them about it, and they were like, "Holy shit, you picked up on that!" And they ended up signing my cards for my card game. And for those of you that don't know if you've ever played the Stoner
Mille
card,
Borns is an old French card game.
Yeah.
I played it when I was a kid back in the 70s, man. It was a family game that we played. It's fantastic. It's really fun. It's a French card game where, you know.
It's very similar to the game Grass, where if you've ever played that Stoner card game, where the point is to put the heat on people, make money, sell pot, this and that and the other, and it's a card game. But Mille Borns is like that, but with miles and cards. You put the heat on somebody, the police, you know, if they're getting too many miles.
Yeah.
So, but it was cool because Accelerator was kind of based on that. They told me when they were overseas, when they were tour, they would play that game constantly. Oh no, here's. And that's just part of the beauty.
My God, that's such a deep groove. You know what I'm saying? It's not.
Well, and you can hear the juxtaposition of their vocals, their lyrics.
Yeah,
you know, Neil's singing a completely different fucking song.
That's what allows you to get like underneath each wave. Okay, so it's in my opinion, the Royal Trux are an explosion of your expression of art. It's complete chaos. But when you get down to, it's just like a fireman trying to find out where a fire started. You know, that's the trick. That's the goal. That's the fun of it. Is you go down there and you go down the rabbit hole and you find out what the story is. And that's what I love about even their most insane shit, is because to me, there's a story in there.
Right.
And once you find it, then you see the bigger picture.
It's not.
That's what makes this band so amazing to me, is because it's endless.
Well, as non-linear as some of their music sounds, it is very linear. It is precise, especially on these two records that we're highlighting today on Veterans and Accelerator. The attention to detail
Oh,
You may think that some of these songs are out there, like "Sick Ass Dog." I mean, you listen to that song.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah, yeah.
that's a mind melter.
It is. It is. It is.
But it is exacted in perfection. It is junk rock perfection, as I used to.
Yes.
I mean,
Well, here, stop.
what
I was just explaining that a second ago. Stop
almost
is a fantastic.
almost
it-
Beatles-esque.
it's a beautiful story. You know, if you really listen to what he's saying, the lyrics are amazing. It's so deep. It's such a great song.
Change partners and dance.
And I'll tell you, this is a song that
You don't stand
I have played for people that are like, I can't stand the Royal Trucks, and then they've heard the song and be like, this is the Trucks?
Yeah.
This song's fucking great. Well, yes, it is.
But if you look, you can find
And
there's so many ways around
the
it.
funny thing about the Trucks is, and if you go back and you listen to some of my early work that I did with the 10-Cent Junkies,
Which was, yeah. Incredible.
my voice, I tried to mix between Jennifer and Neil, is how I was. I kind
Yeah.
of mixed both of their
Yeah,
voices
sure,
together.
yeah.
And the recording, the way that we recorded stuff, the way that we had, tried to get Brad's drums to sound, or Kurt's bass, or Jimmy and I's guitar, and the way that
Yeah.
we sang, the way that we was very Trucks influenced.
Yeah.
But if you go back to our early Mississippi Stranglers stuff, when I first moved back, and you listen to Demo, Scars, and Bars,
Oh,
a lot of that was influenced by that Trucks recording style.
yes.
The way that
Yeah.
we very simple drumming, if not a drum machine, heavily effects out. But the way that we sang, and the way that we would mix the acoustic guitars and the electric guitars, and kind of the attitude that the Royal Trucks give you. When I first heard the Royal Trucks, I kind of felt like I had been introduced to some secret society.
I completely agree.
That nobody knew about. That
Yeah.
and
Well, at the time, there was kids listening to Skinny Puppy.
right, and I remember when we brought the Royal Trucks around to our circle.
Yeah. Not everybody was on board, I'll tell you that.
Well, I think we lost a couple friends because I think
We
they
did.
looked at us and they said, "Paul, Kurt, what is wrong with you? You guys have really fucking gone off the deep end and turned this shit off. What are we listening to? It's like, this is a fucking Royal Truck."
Which leads to a secret power of any Royal Trucks album. Pick any album you'd like. Say you have people in your home and it's late and it's time to go. You put on a Royal Trucks album, and you'll either everyone will leave or you'll be left with the best people. That's a guarantee.
It's exactly it. The one that's still sitting there, and you're
Yeah.
going, "Well, I guess it's time to pack it up." And you look over, and there's a dude sitting there going, "Do you got any more of that
Yeah.
Royal Truck shit?"
What is this?
And it's like,
man?
boy, do I. And I think I got every fucking album, man. And
Yeah.
but when we started getting into, and I remember when these albums came out. Now, I was living in Phoenix.
Yeah. Well, you would send me everything.
I sent you everything.
The second anything came out, like, oh my God, check it out, check it out. Yeah.
And this was back, I had the vinyl, but I would buy the CD just to send it to Paul. Like, hey,
Yeah.
new Trucks albums. I sent it to you. It should, snail mail back then. We couldn't email songs back then. But when we came back, what Paul and I used to do, and we still do to this day, what we call is, doing research.
Research.
So when we got back together and started writing for the Mississippi Stranglers, we would listen to
No.
these records,
Yeah.
also Rolling Stones records, Grateful Dead records, and the
a
early
myriad of super awesome things, but this was included because it's so essential to, especially when our growing up, in our high school years. This was formative for us. It was like an identity. It was like an identity. I can't think of the word now. It's correlation, whatever. Anyway, point was that it was something that we could understand that somehow nobody else did.
and that's just it. I think. I mean, the Royal Trucks to me are the quintessential rock and roll, scuzz rock and roll, junk rock band.
Yeah. There's no better.
And what they brought to the table for me is, and especially when I first started listening to them, and this is also true with Iggy and the Stooges, This is also true with the Grateful Dead. When I heard bands like these, I realized that there were no limitations to
Yeah.
what I could do or what we could do musically.
Oh, now you're hitting the spot.
Or
Yeah,
whatever we
exactly,
wanted to write,
exactly. Yeah,
we'll fucking write it. Who gives a shit
yeah,
if the scale isn't perfect?
yeah.
Who gives a shit if the verse and chorus
Yep.
don't follow each other?
Yep.
And who cares if the vocals are on an off time?
Yep.
Who gives a shit? I don't even care if the guitar's tuned as long as we're keeping some sort of
Yeah.
timing.
Did you record it?
Right, did you get it on record?
Yeah.
And that's what the Royal Trux kind of, as a young musician,
Yeah.
gave to me a sense of power, of entitlement. Now,
Oh, not entitlement. You earned that. No,
Well,
we
I-
earned
well,
that.
well, I felt like,
Look,
hey,
I mean,
man,
how many times have we been so depressed to be caught something that was off the cuff, that worked out, and it was weird. It could have been, who knows what it was, man. But we lost so much, and the fact that he is committed to that, to keeping that thing that gets lost,
well, especially the early albums were the ones that really blew my mind.
Yeah.
But when you got to Thank You and Sweet 16, those were coherent boogie, woogie, rock and roll, ass pocket of soul fucking records.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when it came time to record stuff on their own time with no, back on Drag City,
Yeah,
with nobody telling
yeah.
them, well, we need hits, we need radio friendly shit. Look,
Yeah.
no fucking radio
We got
station
time,
back
we got
then.
space,
yeah,
man. We're gonna get it done.
no radio station in their right mind would ever
And
play the
Neil-
Royal Trucks.
Neil is he's gonna be supernatural when you give him that space.
Yes.
Because that man can never stop creating. You can tell with everything he does. He's restrained in this.
Well, you can hear that definitely on Accelerator, and you can hear it like
Could lips and be like cheeks, operating on nothing but a feeling.
and another thing he really started getting really good at was
Oh my God!
Was the
way they
piano,
just
was the
fit it
organ.
together- Man,
Oh,
the
yeah.
way they fit it together. That's what I'm talking about. That fades
And then right there.
together. It's
But he don't feel love. Another she, another he were right
it was something. And we were lucky enough to go a couple of years ago. You and Garrett and I,
yeah.
the Royal
Yeah, it
Trucks,
was-
the,
oh
the
my
Trucks
God.
had gotten back together,
A
and
high
we
point in my life.
we went to
High
go
point
see the
in my life,
Trucks, and they recorded a live album, and some of it's on that. I have it, and then they recorded a newer album called White Stuff.
Yeah.
And White Stuff is a great
White
fucking
Stuff,
record.
Which actually should be a. I don't know why Oreo has not tried
I
to
don't know.
license that. I mean, it's ridiculous. Why
I don't
wouldn't
know.
they?
But we got to go see them, and what was really funny is a lot of the opening bands had a lot of people, and when the Trucks came on, I think there was probably about
Oh.
40 of us.
It was so fantastic.
And we got to sit and watch it's like good Southern Carolina barbecue, right? Like, you're eating these ribs and the meat's falling off the bone, and you don't have a wipe to clean up your fingers or your face, and it's just falling off and it's getting all over the place. But it's so good, and you don't want to stop eating it.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an analogy to the Royal Trucks. It's like good ribs, man. And Neil Michael Haggerty is one of my favorite musicians. And you look what they were influenced by: Velvet Underground, Iggy and the Stooges, Suicide, 13th Floor Elevators, that garage psych shit.
Yeah.
But you look at the bands that you can't turn on a fucking rock and roll band right now that let's say, for instance, the White Stripes are not the White Stripes without the Royal Trucks.
Oh God, no.
Neil and Jennifer were doing that shit before
this
Jack and
song-
Meg were even doing it.
This song, I'm telling you, Jack White loves this song.
100%.
I'm telling you, loves this song.
There are so many. Kurt Vile, MJ Lenderman. You listen to even early Waxahachie. You go back and you listen to some of their recordings. It was noisy. It was avant-garde. It was. But then all those bands did become a little bit more polished, which is what the Trucks did.
Well-
And I respect what the Trucks did, but was taking a sound that was so fucked up, but making it compatible with everything in life. Like, you may be having a bad day, Well, put on the Royal Trux, man, and either your day is going to burn down to the ground, or you're going to come out on top.
Yeah.
What did we used to say? We don't burn bridges, we build them, and then we burn them.
Yeah.
The Royal Trux kind of had that thing. It seemed like with the exception of drag, everything they did on Virgin Records was just a kick in the teeth of the fucking music industry, and what they were churning out, that Pearl Jam and all that shit.
Yeah.
And this is nothing against Nirvana. People thought that Neil Haggerty was going to be the next Kurt Cobain.
I know, and the most delicious fact about that is that it's Neil Haggerty, and he would never be Kurt Cobain. Kurt Cobain's a different man. He's a different artist. And I love Kurt Cobain.
Right.
I'm not saying shit about it. I love Nirvana, dude. I listen to a lot of,
Nirvana, Kurt Cobain loved the Royal Trux.
Of course he did. And you know who else he loved? Daniel Johnston.
Daniel Johnston. That's another guy that you put up there.
That's a show we should do, by the way, is Daniel Johnston.
That's another guy.
Now that's really starting to get deep into the reasonings why people are creating music and why it can be so much of your soul and so guttural that it's such truth and honesty and openness. That, that's what makes music what it should be.
Like we used to say,
and that's what the Trux is to me.
Right.
Is it's so raw.
Right.
It is raw. It's to
art.
the bone.
It's
man.
freedom of expression.
Yeah.
It's not having any fucking boundaries. It's not having anyone tell you that you can't do that. And the more that's
opening up himself,
right,
and I can see that, and that makes me want to hear more. And that's why I see him as such a great songwriter.
Well, and the Trux too. It seemed like anytime somebody told them you can't do that, not only did they do it, but they did it 100 times. There was nothing. And even his solo albums, and then Jennifer had started a band called RTX, which was actually pretty good. I have a couple of some of those records. But Neil Michael Haggerty's solo records are really fucking good, and I've seen him on his solo tours. I've seen him a lot. Neil Michael Haggerty plays that good old rock and roll. Such a great album. I can't. It's hard for me to sit here on Hot Wax and tell somebody to go out and listen to the Royal Trux, because I consider you guys to be my friends. And like I said, some people have taken my advice and listened to the Royal Trux and came back to me and said, "Why the fuck did you make me listen to that?" And the Royal Trux is something. It's an acquired taste. You either get it or you don't. And I think the album name, Veterans of Disorder, which we've always said that that's what we are.
Oh,
we are veterans of disorder. The Royal Trux are veterans of disorder.
Yeah.
The Royal Trux is disorder.
Yes.
It's controlled chaos.
Yes.
To a medium, artistic medium that, like I said, you can't replicate that.
No.
You cannot. You couldn't even say, well, let's cover a Trux tune. If you did, you'd have to do it your own way.
Oh yeah. Well, there's no way.
Like I was trying to play "I'm Ready"
You'd hit
on the acoustic. And I was trying to do an acoustic version of it because it was pretty simple, but I'm just like, God, Neil, how do you?
Now you're getting me excited, dude. Are we gonna do that?
Well, now you remember how he kind of taught me, and how I kind of taught you that, how to sing on the off.
Yes.
On the offbeat.
Yes.
You know, don't come in when you think. Come in on the feet.
Yes.
And that was kind of and we would do that sometimes with our lyrics.
To 14 years old.
Yeah, we would do that sometimes with our lyrics. Like if you even go back to the 10 Cent Junkies, you hear the way Jimmy and I would sing on that first record, Lights, Camera, Satisfaction. We kind of had that, and we were obviously way influenced by that.
Yeah,
and not one person that I knew would ever listen to it was like, boy, that really sounds like the Royal Trux. Because they really hadn't heard it. And the same thing with the Spots being very influenced by the John Spencer's Blues Explosion. I knew I was ripping them off.
Yeah.
I knew I was, using a lot of shit.
Hey, man, you guys were practicing this shit in front of me, and I knew it too, but I didn't care because it sounded fantastic.
Well, and not one person came up to me and said, well, gee, that was a really good set, man, but you sound a lot like, or you kind of have like a John Spencer's thing.
And you're like,
because nobody knew who the fuck they are.
Yeah.
You know? But, I digress into that. But the best part about everything, getting down to.
Hey, can I request a song?
Yeah.
Can you play Spectre? Spectre, it's not of these two albums, but it is one of my favorite songs, if not my favorite song, and it's the one that I try to introduce people to.
Oh, I love this one.
When it comes to the Trux, This is water part.
and the Spectre, but again, Cats and Dogs was the album that really got me into him. So if you
Well,
were
Cats and Dogs is in that now. That album absolutely is that's the album that you know.
well, that's the album
That's how you know who knows what.
it's the record that changed my guitar tone.
Yeah.
I would say. You know, again, like the Stooges and all the bands that were influencing me and influencing us and everybody that I was working with. But this was the album, I think, that really changed the trajectory of my music, of my songwriting, and how I envisioned things. Like, again, it took away the stigma of you can't do that because somebody isn't going to like it. Well, fuck them.
Yeah, yeah.
Fuck them. I'm not going to be on the radio. I'm not going to sell 1 million fucking records, man. And if I did, I would do it to produce another fucked up record. You know?
Yeah, man.
I tried recording a record called Desert Dust and Strip Mall Junk, and I have the the tapes. I haven't put it together yet. I'm trying to work on it, but it's so twin infinitives. It's just so messed up because you know I've always wanted to do something like that. But when you get a chance, if you get a chance, I would say to take the advice of Paul and I and go, you know, the records are hard to find. There's reissues out there, but go Spotify, Accelerator, and Veterans of Disorder, and sit down with a tall one, and see if it moves you. You know, but
give it a chance. Try everything just a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like you're trying to feed your kids some vegetables, man. Just take a bite. Just trust me, it's not going to kill you. And you never know, man. You might like it.
I think, in closing, using your art and believing in the process, and basically saying, I'm going to do what I want, and we're going to do it our way, and sticking to your guns and believing in the process. The Royal Trux taught me, if nothing else, fuck them. You know, write what you write. Make the music that makes you happy. And if people don't like it, too fucking bad. You know. But again, just listening to Liar, listening to this song, any of the songs on the Accelerator record, and then moving on to Veterans of Disorder.
And I'm telling you, if you take the time, it's all relatable. It's just you just need to just give it a chance, man.
I think it's one of the best 1-2 punches that a band could do within a year.
Yes.
With Accelerator and Veterans of Disorder. And for guitar players out there, you might cringe a little bit at Neil's playing, but man, there's some really fucking hot licks, and there's some really good bass playing, and really good piano, really good organ, and of course Jennifer Harema to me is one of the best front women. She's like a mix of Wendy O. Williams from the Plasmatics and fucking Stevie Nicks.
Nice.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
And Neil Michael Haggerty is kind of like
Jimmy Page, man.
Jimmy Page and Neil Young.
Yeah. Oh, perfect.
You know, because he does have a lot of those solos. Like when you listen to like what's that song? Stevie.
Yeah. Stevie. Yeah.
The guitar solo in the end of that song is fucking money. So, anyways, thanks for coming out or listening to us and tuning in to Hot Wax. This has been episode 16, where we discuss the Royal Trux Accelerator, Veteran of Disorder, and beyond. And of course, another reason why I'm a huge fan of the Trux is because they're out of they're not based in Chicago, but the Chicago Drag City record label.
Yes.
And a lot of good bands I definitely found from that.
Well, thanks for having me, man.
No problem.
I'm sure maybe one day I'll learn to get close to the mic. It's only been 20 years of singing, and I haven't done it yet. So.
Well, you know, I always love discussing music with you because you and I go back a long way. And we discussed Bob Weir and the Grateful Dead last time, which is another big influence. But the Royal Trux had a profound influence on us, not only in our music and our friendship, but in our way of living, in our way of life.
100%, everyday life, man.
You know?
Yeah.
So, you know, do yourself a favor if you don't expect much, go ahead and put on Accelerator and Veterans of Disorder, and if it hits you, go find some of the other albums. Thank You is such a great record. Sweet 16, pound for pound. I mean, you can go on and on with all the Royal Trux records. You know, maybe some of the earlier stuff isn't for you, but I'm sure you'll find something. Like you said, Stop. That's
Yeah.
a song that everybody I know is like, damn, that's a good fucking song.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so in conclusion, Kurt Finn,
Big Ben Murphy.
spin what you love and love what you spin. This is Hot Wax, and we'll catch you on the next episode. I'm going to be doing something different on the next episode. I'm going to be doing a Rolling Stones top 10 songs with the Rabbi of Rock, Scott. And we're going to
Nice.
try to do a live pod at the McHenry Brewing Company in McHenry, Illinois.
Awesome,
So I'll
man.
give you guys a heads up. Maybe if some of you are in town and you want to come and see us do this, we're going to be discussing our top 10. It's not going to quite be a record. We're going to go a little bit off format and not discuss, records per se, but we're going to talk about our 10 favorite Rolling Stones songs, especially
that
with the
sounds
Rolling
awesome,
Stones
man.
coming out with a new album. Their new single is out. I think it's really fucking cool. The fact that Rolling Stones have influenced
Yeah.
fucking everyone,
Yeah.
especially the
Yeah.
Royal Trucks. So stay tuned for that. But everybody, thank you for tuning in. Stay close for episode 17. Paul,
It's a
brother,
pleasure, brother, man.
love it. Love you, man. And we'll catch
All
you
right.
on the next one.
Shaka.
Royal Trucks, baby. Yeah, baby, baby.